Hello, everybody. Here we are sitting again with the lovely Linda S.Spedding. And today we would like to talk about space, ether, one of the five elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, and space. Thank you, Linda, for joining again today. You're in Germany, and it looks like the vibes are quite lovely around you there. How is the weather, and what kind of a place are you at?
So it's lovely to see you, Simi. Today is going to be a quiet day, but we're going to have a nice long walk because we're near farmland and we can go a bit over the hill quietly. And in Germany, you're allowed to walk wherever you like. Unlike when I've been in America, where somebody might say, "Get off the place, you'll be shot." I've Yeah, I've actually had that happen. But here it's a right to ramble and, wander. So that's very nice. So we're in an area that's very conducive, I would say. And I'll be going home back to London quite soon. So I'm enjoying these days, in fact. And it makes it very creative. And I must say, talking about the elements does move the mind into very creative thoughts beyond the things we touch and see around, because of course space, or in the Vedic tradition it's the Sanskrit word akash. It's the subtlest of the five elements, actually, and it's the foundation of all creation, all of the other elements, and it's like the basic building block, as you've alluded to, of all we are and all we live on and all we see. So everything in nature, including our mind, our bodies, and everything, we all rely on the space element, actually. And the akash means not visible. It's there, but it's not visible, and it's therefore very, you're attuned to that element, actually. You're attuned to it. And then it gives rise to the other elements that, as you've mentioned, air, fire, water, and earth. So we're like in it's through space that everything's possible. And it's interesting that behind you, you've got a rather exciting illustration of how much is possible. And we return back to space. We come from space and then we go back to space in the whole tradition of the lifeline, the life cycles of life of any being, actually. Um, so everything's interconnected. We've discussed that many times. So there's an infinite, unbounded feeling in space that we and that gives people who are interested and excited and want to explore a feeling of infinite energy and good power. And yet, we also talk about space in the context of our, um, like, we need more space. We use that term. We are, in a, we don't like things cluttered or small. We know we need space. So it's a very interesting concept, this space element, and we feel that freedom from obstructions and challenges through the feeling of space. So it's really quite subtle, and it can be. So therefore, if you think about it, this element is physical, it's mental, it's also spiritual, and it's all pervasive. So I like this being the last element that we're going through because it opens the mind to so much, don't you think?
Absolutely. And when we think about space, like this funny AI picture here that this guy would be, flying up in the space, but space is here with us, like it's in our mind. We
Yes.
can recite a mantra and have those ancient mantras and use them and get connected to that element with that 3,000-year-old content of that mantra.
Yes.
from another culture that
Yes.
have given to us as gifts.
Yes.
So
That's
when
right.
we go into the content, we just kind of dive into that element of the eternal.
Yes.
And it's always there, it's always around, it's always at our access,
That's
which
right.
is a spiritual process. So I think it's wonderful to teach people that we don't have to see a dualistic way of,
Yeah.
let's say, the five elements. Like, okay, water is out there somewhere, it's part of us. Fire is out there somewhere. It's also in our fiery spirit, or the fire element of life force or something. And then there is space, we can have that spiritual experience and go into it. So they're always at our access in a content way as well. And I just love
Absolutely.
this, the holistic thinking of all of them always being around, but it is about the free will as well. So
Absolutely. It's also about a feeling of, people might say without even contemplating why they're saying it, I need a feeling of space. They say it about relationships, they say it about where they live. And sorry, it also connects with this feeling of non-attachment. So that according to the Vedic tradition, as I understand it, the way to have a healthy, happy life is to actually, although we love to love and all that, it's to be unconditional, non-attached. And this element of space represents that kind of aspect in all of us. And we come to the earth alone, we leave the earth alone. All of this is our lessons in healthy living, actually. And so I do think that the element of, if we contemplate that we come from space, we go back to space, it makes us much more mindful of the way we live our lives. And I read a few times, and when we do mantra, actually, we do so many beautiful mantras. But it is always said that even on the time you're about to go, if you know you are, if you have that mantra of just Om as the eternal, that is reconnecting to the space from which you came. And it's kind of a very, very positive way to be ending your life at any time. So if even that mantra Om conjures up tremendously positive aspects of the elements and living and learning through your life, actually, which is beautiful, So you said you did mantra. You enjoy doing mantra, Sini, do you?
yes, I loved it, and it took a while. The Om mantra is really important, but when I kept on reciting and repeating, I
Yes,
start to have a more alertness in my awareness. Like if I would walk in the city, I would be much more sensitive to my environment after those practices.
yes,
But it did take a while, I would say 2 or 3 months, but to repeat and to repeat and to repeat and to trust
yeah,
the process of that very old content that was given to us through love, and
yeah,
that meant to be equal to all humans and
yeah,
everybody at their access according to their will. So there is no forceful like a dogma of faith or religion. They are just there like little love gifts.
yes,
So
exactly.
I adore them, but I'm very selective on which ones I like to use. I don't really relate to all traditions, but the ones I do are very dear, and
Well,
the
yeah,
Om is wonderful.
yeah. Well, I think the sound can be very healing. That's the point. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be very complicated, but the sound of some of the simple mantras, like at the moment, we've just finished Navaratri, and of course the main mantra there for the to what they is known as invoking an energy. to invoke the female energy of, say, Durga, you would just go Om Namo Durgaya Namaha. And that's all it is for what. So even if we come from very different traditions, it's not a hurdle to try and, you know, repeat, because through repetition, you can connect, and through connection you can actually feel a very different aspect of life. Then you do get more sensitive, then you do feel about the elements. And I think we've lost a lot of that as human beings because we're in such a gross materialistic way of life for the most part, and we really want those natural tribes or groups that still are out of that lifestyle to all join in, you know. But the way to have to be contented and to live your life so that you won't, so that you're not attached, is actually through understanding what nature provides. We can never replicate nature. We try with inventions. You know, we look at the powers of various animals, creatures, and so on, the birds that fly and all that, and they've been instrumental for our inventions. But it all comes from nature, you know, and imagination and the mind and so forth. And space, of course, has become the most strong inventive area for many people right now, in our era now, where people want to go and visit space and even live in space and all that. It's kind of opening up the boundaries of thought and the mind. And but at the same time, we should do all of these things with responsibility for self. And that's our point in discussing these elements, because however old or young we are, we should think about our impact on the elements as an individual, you know. And because we can't take responsibility and worry about the impacts as a whole population of the world, but we can set an example, and do that in a positive way that is sensitive to the where the consciousness is in the planet. Actually, we, you know, and all of this comes from space. I'm trying to say that this interconnectivity is all through space. All these thoughts.